When thinking of films, a common thought is that the most prestigious of films and actors are those that have been nominated or have received Academy Awards. But what most people fail to realize in thinking about this is that an Academy Award was not won by a black person until the 12th ceremony, and it was another 9 years before it occurred again, with the film Song of the South.
Song of the South is a controversial film presented by Disney in 1946. It is a collaboration of real-life and animated scenes. It tells the story of a black plantation handyman, Uncle Remus, played by James Baskett. A little boy named Johnny, played by Bobby Driscoll, is sent to stay with his grandmother and mother due to his parents' separation. He leaves the plantation, and as people begin looking for him, he is drawn in by Uncle Remus's voice. He tells stories of the Brer Rabbit, Brer Brer, and Brer Fox. Despite racial struggles throughout the story that separate Uncle Remus and Johnny, Uncle Remus miraculously saves his life by telling a story after Johnny was very close to losing his life after being attacked by a bull. The film was directed by two white directors, Wilfred Jackson and Harve Foster. It won an Oscar for Best Song, Zippity Doo-Dah, performed by James Baskett, and he himself also won the honorary Academy Award, making him the first black male to win an Academy Award. While this film was very financially successful, accumulating to a profit of $65 million, it sparked serious controversy. The depiction of black characters was perceived as racist among audience members. There is also heavy conflict revolving around life on the plantation, claiming it idolizes how it was and is very ingenuine. Due to its racist nature, it was never released on DVD. The only reachable footage is online videos of the cartoon parts of the film. Song of the South is now considered an embarrassment of Disney. People see the great amounts of racism, considering it is a false depiction of plantation life and black people. The true irony behind it is how an all-white Academy voted for it to win, and it actually does win, despite its racist nature. It is a clear example of how race is concurrent in the results of the Academy Awards. Therefore, the prevalence of race in films can be seen through the history of the Academy Awards.
So what are the Academy Awards? Well, the Academy Awards consist of a group of people, otherwise known as the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, or Academy for short, that annually nominate people of the film industry for artistic and technical merit. In total, 24 awards are given out each year. One thing to consider is that once a person is in the Academy, they are in it for life and don't get replaced until they die. When the Academy Awards first started on May 16, 1929, the Academy was made up of all white males. In 2016, the Academy stated that they wanted to double the amount of women and non-white people by the year 2020. Looking solely at the amount of people let into the Academy each year, and the number of women and black people already in the Academy, the numbers just didn't add up. There were 6,300 people in the Academy in 2016, and the Academy only allows 300 more people to be put into the Academy each year. Of these 6,300 people, only 9% were non-white, and of that 9%, only 3% of those people were black. In order to double the amount of women and black people by 2020, they would have to add 134 black people plus 375 women each year, which is 209 more people than what they normally add each year. Here, racism is shown in the makeup of the Academy itself, because the Academy should have known that doubling the amount of women and black people would not have been possible.
As mentioned, the Academy Awards began in 1929. They were founded by Louis B. Mayer, head of MGM Studios. They were dedicated to the improvement of the film industry, and in early years, winners of awards were announced before the ceremony, which mostly just served as a dinner party for the best of the best in the industry. In the early 1900s, major film companies did not make films aimed towards black audiences. The production crew, cast, and audience of these films were generally white. This was during the time of the rise in popularity of film, and many African Americans in the South and the North longed for films with accurate representations of their race. Due to major Hollywood studios of the time, such as MGM, Paramount, Fox, Warner Brothers, and RKO, having all white casts who used the still controversial blackface instead of hiring people of color, some black entrepreneurs started film production studios, which made films that were targeted specifically towards black audiences. These companies included Ebony Films, William Foster Studio, Norman Film Company, the Peter P. Jones Photoplay Company, and the Afro-American Film Company, as well as the forerunner of this type of studio, the Lincoln Motion Picture Company. As time progressed, some of these studios gained popularity, but as of present day, none are prevalent in production. Major studios in Hollywood began incorporating more races into their films, and the movie industry became much less segregated, which eventually led to blacks receiving nominations and winning Academy Awards.
12 Years a Slave is a film based on the memoir of Solomon Northup. It is told as a slave narrative about Northup's life of being born into freedom, only to have it taken away from him after being kidnapped and sold into slavery in the South. This 2013 film captures the struggle of oppression that slaves in the South faced while living on plantations.
I want to ask you what part of the country you come from.
I originate from Canada. I guess where that is.
Oh, I know where Canada is. I've been there myself.
Well, travel for a slave.
Solomon Northup is an expert player on the violin.
I was born a free man. Lived with my family in New York.
Be good for your mother.
Until the day I was deceived.
To Solomon.
Kidnapped. Sold into slavery.
Well, boy, how you feel now?
My name is Solomon Northup. I'm a free man.
And you have no right whatsoever to detain me.
You're no free man. You're nothing but a Georgia runaway.
Went down to the river Jordan.
And that servant
That don't obey his Lord.
shall be beaten with many stripes. That's scripture. The condition of your laborers, it's all wrong.
They're my property.
You say that with pride.
I say it as fact.
Speak!
Man does how he pleases with his property.
You come here. I said come here!
Days ago, I was with my family in my home. Now you tell me all is lost.
If you want to survive, do and say as little as possible. My soul rising.
Well, I don't want to survive.
For the year when
I want to live.
I thought you knowed something.
I did as instructed. There's something wrong. It's wrong with the instruction.
Master brought you here to work. Any more, I'll earn you 100 lashes.
I know what it like to be the object of Master's lash.
In his own time, good Lord will manage them all.
I will survive. I will not fall into despair. I will keep myself hardy till freedom is opportune.
If I was a free man, I'm not a slave.
The culturally accurate descriptions that are presented throughout the film were what got 12 Years a Slave nominated for 9 awards for the 86th Annual Academy Awards. These nominations included Best Costume Design, Best Production Design, Best Film Editing, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor, Best Actor, Best Writing Adapted Screenplay, Best Supporting Actress, and Best Picture. Out of these 9 nominations, 3 ended up winning. Best Supporting Actress for the work of Lupita Nyong'o, Best Writing Adapted Screenplay to John Ridley, and Best Picture to the producers, including director Stephen McQueen. The 86th Academy Award show made history in 2013, as it was the year that 12 Years a Slave was the first film with an African-American producer and director to have won Best Picture. Along with this, It was also the first time in history that an African American writer had his screenplay win Best Picture, and was only the second African American to win Best Screenplay itself. While it was exciting that these 3 awards were given to 3 African Americans, the truth of the matter is that the African American community is incredibly unrepresented in the Academy Awards. Although the past has proven to be much worse regarding the racism within the Academy, the problem still continues despite the fact that there have been slightly more African American winners.
Throughout the history of the Academy Awards, a total of 166 nominations have gone to people of color, but only 113 different people have received nominations. A few people who have received multiple nominations are Denzel Washington, who has received 9 nominations and won twice, Quincy Jones, who is a sound designer, who has received 8 nominations but won only once, and Morgan Freeman, who has been nominated 5 times and has also won once. Only 6 women have been nominated more than once: Mary J. Blige, Octavia Spencer, Oprah Winfrey, Ruth E. Carter, and Whoopi Goldberg. After looking at the actors and actresses that have been nominated for more than one award, we can look specifically at the number of awards won by African Americans as a whole and their specific category. Some awards have only been won once or twice by Black people, but others account for nearly 1/5 of all awards ever won by people of color. The award with the highest amount of Black winners is the Special Academy Award, which is given to 1 to 2 people per year and is for work on-screen or off that did not fit into a particular category. As seen in the graph, Best Supporting Actress accounts for around 16% of awards won by Blacks, Best Song for 14.3%, and Best Actor and Best Sound Mixing each account for 9.5%. When splitting all awards won into 4 categories, acting, production, sound, and special awards, it is much clearer how many awards are given out and for what reason. Along with this, one of the most prestigious Academy Awards, Best Director, has never been won by an African American director, even though there are many of them working in the film industry, and the number of them continues to increase.
In this specific billboard, the text reads, "The anatomically correct Oscar. He's white, like almost everyone who wins." Only 6% of the acting awards and 5% of the writing and directing awards have gone to people of color in 86 years. In the corner of the billboard, there is a hashtag that reads #OscarsSoWhite. This hashtag began in 2015 because that year, all 20 of the leading and supporting acting roles that were nominated for awards went to all white actors, which hasn't happened since 1998.
Not only did all white actors receive every acting nomination in 2015, it happened again in 2016. The backlash from all white actors receiving acting nominations did not end as only a hashtag on social media. It extended as far as to make national news and be compared to politics on ABC, as seen in these clips.
Front page of this morning's LA Times saying it all, asking the question, where's the diversity? And ABC's Chris Conley is here with that story. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Robin. And from what we saw, not people attacking this nomination or that nomination, but asking questions, again, about the process and about the industry. Just saying, the 7-person lineup for last night's A-list Republican presidential candidates debate was more diverse than the Academy Awards' 20 acting nominations, none of which went to a person of color for the second year in a row. It's actually worse than last year, tweeted April Rain, creator of the viral hashtag #OscarsSoWhite, now making a repeat appearance. Reverend Al Sharpton calling Hollywood fraudulent.
I think this is both a Hollywood problem and an Oscars problem.
Unafraid to push it himself, Chirac director Spike Lee used his honorary Oscar acceptance speech at November's Governor Awards to urge change.
It's easier to be the President of the United States as a black person than be the head of studio.
Understanding this idea that all of the nominees for Best Actor and Supporting Actor in 2015 were white, the first ever nominees for Academy Awards were all white as well, and 12 awards were given out that year. However, it was not until 10 years later, in 1939, when Hattie McDaniel was the first Black woman nominated and actually won an award for Best Supporting Actress in the film Gone with the Wind.
The Hattie with Daniel.
Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science, fellow members of the motion picture industry, and honored guests. This is one of the happiest moments of my life, and I want to thank each one of you who had a part in selecting me for one of the awards.
Interestingly enough, in 2018, they gave out 20 awards, and there were 41 winners. Out of all the Black people nominated, which was only 11, only 3 people won an award. Not only did it take 10 years for a Black person to be nominated for an Academy Award, there have actually only been 21 off-screen awards given to Black people in total. Off-screen awards consist of everything except Best Supporting Actor and Actress. 12 of these 21 awards have been for music, and 8 Academy Special Awards have also been given.
Finally, we would like to address one reason that makes it more clear why racism can be so present with the Academy Awards. This is the fact that Hollywood itself tends to be racist in casting, so as more white people are cast in movie roles, it is obvious that they will have a greater probability of getting the awards. This is identified in LaTanya Sinkler's publication in the Journal of Gender, Social Policy, and Law, in which she explains how movie production crews put out a casting call with brief character descriptions. 50.9% of casting calls do not specify race, but out of those that do, only 8.1 specify Black character, while 22.5% describe the character as white. The other 18.5% are made up of calls for other ethnicities or calls that list any ethnicity will work for the character. Although this puts African Americans at a disadvantage, there is nothing that can be done about it. Current laws in place for workplace discrimination and those against racism while hiring do not protect non-white actors and actresses in the film industry. Sinkler's essay explains this by analyzing Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, which she claims allows for the employment of minorities in fields they were previously and routinely turned away from. This law made it so minorities could gain employment in any position as long as they met the requirements for the job. The essay then goes on to argue that by specifying race in casting calls, Black actors and other minorities are not given fair opportunity for employment in the acting industry, as a major fraction of the calls insist on auditionees being white. This has affected countless actors in Hollywood, including Academy Award winner Halle Berry. Berry read the script for the film Things We Lost in the Fire and asked her agent about going to audition. Her agent then informed her that the casting call asked for white actresses. This upset Berry, who set up a meeting with the director and then received the role in the film. Although this example did end in a Black actress receiving the role, this case is rare, and many times the result is that the specification of race in the casting call turns Black actors away from auditioning as a whole. This overall leads to less African Americans in roles, meaning they will win less awards. In conclusion, although a great progression can be seen in the portrayal of African Americans in Academy Award-winning films, through the topics of films becoming more accurate and the inclusion of less stereotypes and idolization, racial bias is still evident through the amount of awards won by Black actors, actresses, directors, producers, and others, and through the lack of representation of non-white people in the Academy itself. Although it is clear that the public recognizes the issue, which is seen through their backlash after the lack of Black nominees, changes being made are quite minuscule and slow to occur. Together, these topics have provided the conclusion that racism is present in the Academy Awards.